And were you safe?
No.
Did you get shot at?
We got bombs thrown at us.
Welcome everybody to Snack on That, a podcast deliberately looking at how we feed the world with my hosts.
Gavin Kibble, not from Wales.
And Gwyn Williams, from Welsh Indeed.
From Welsh Indeed. I don't know where Welsh Indeed is, actually.
No, it's South of Aberystwyth.
Well, we can't do the accent. I'm going to move on swiftly.
I know. Do you find a Welsh accent turns into an Asian accent?
Yes,
I think
unfortunately it does if you're not used to it. Yes,
Yeah.
you have to be very careful. But my Asian and Welsh friends do give me grace and still love me, I think.
Well, they don't forgive me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today we're looking at the heart of the matter at Ukraine and Feed the Hungry's long-term strategy for war.
Oh, invade France.
No. Think on that. We'll see where we go with that in a bit. And of course, our regular slot of Where's Gwyn been? I think you've been to Ukraine, haven't you, Gwyn?
I have indeed. I've been 4 times.
4 times. That's more than I've been to Wales, I think. No, tell a lie. Okay. So where's Gwyn been? He's been to Ukraine, and we're going to examine that. And then a special one today. We can't quite believe, actually, and I'm going to kick off with this, Gav, because I've got to say it. But I can't believe why some people in this room have a lot of letters after their name. Could you explain, please?
Me?
Yes, because you've got letters after your
Oh,
name.
I've got letters after my name.
Come on,
Okay.
read them off.
Well, I have an MBE.
What does that mean?
It means a massive, big ego.
Yeah, we know that.
Well, we
You know
absolutely-
that. Absolutely agree with that.
Absolutely. I have an on DBA.
On DBA. That
Yes.
sounds like you're on some sort of radio.
It sounds like I work for Aston Martin, doesn't
Oh,
it?
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it does sound a bit like that.
Okay.
That's from Coventry University.
What is it? On
It's
DBA.
an honorary doctor of business administration, which seems ridiculous to me.
So Dr. Gavin.
Dr. Gavin.
Dr. Gavin.
Yeah, you don't really
Dr.
use
Gavin
the doctor.
MBE.
That's from Coventry University for services to Coventry and food poverty.
Okay.
And I've got ACMA,
Association of Chartered
Management
Accountants.
Very
Okay,
good.
very good.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's why your jokes are so bad.
Well, yeah, it's why I'm good at adding up and subtracting and
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
How about Chem Ons?
Chem-ons.
Yeah.
Chem-ons.
Well,
Come on.
So I have an honorary,
Come on.
yeah, well, I have an honorary degree in chemistry as well. Sorry,
very
honours
good.
degree, not
Honours-
an honorary, honours degree in chemistry. I studied
It's all
chemistry at
coming
Leeds
out now. You
University.
didn't really get a degree at all. It's just an honours degree.
No, I've got it's a chemistry degree. Honours.
Honours, okay.
Honours.
Okay,
Yes, it's
fair
not an honorary degree in chemistry.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Any time for anything else, Gavin?
I'm also a canon of Coventry Cathedral, but that's at the front end.
Explosive.
Explosive. Yes,
Canon-
that's an old joke, really.
I'm
Chris,
so
yes.
apologise.
Please, that is a dad joke, and it's a complete red flag.
Yellow card.
Yellow
red card.
card.
Okay, got that.
It means,
But-
it means I have a stall in Coventry Cathedral up in the choir section.
Stall in the choir section.
I hear
mate.
you're also upset about the number of letters you got over your name.
Well, it all really started, this one, with my wedding day and discovering that at that point, I was only 23 when I got married. I was a young whippersnapper, that my wife had 16 letters after her name, being a dance teacher. She got a licentiate of this and a licentiate of that. And I vowed at that point, in fact, I stated it in my wedding speech, that I would get more letters after my name before I died. I'm not quite there yet because I don't want to die just yet. So I'm trying to maintain.
So I was just wondering, I was trying to work it out.
You're trying
in
to
my
work out how
hands.
many?
I can't believe I married Gav. That's 16 letters.
Yeah.
I think it's about 18 or 19.
It
but
is,
never mind.
yeah. So that's a little bit about me. So the best one of them all, of course, is the MBA, which I got from Princess Anne back in 2022. Went up to Windsor Castle. Almost got arrested on the way into Windsor Castle because I completely forgotten that I had a boot full of tools, including saws.
No.
And they kind of asked me what my intentions were towards the royal family at that point before confiscating all this stuff from the boot of my car. But it was a great occasion. I think what I loved about it was that I had found in Coventry, we ran a clothes bank at that time. I'd found in the clothes bank an old morning suit. Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Didn't know that.
So my wife had spent about £100 on a fascinator. That's the sort of hat you wear. and I spent nothing at all on this stuff. And it was great. It was a really nice day.
That's
Good
really
day.
fascinating.
It was. Thank you.
Oh dear. Well,
That's a red flag for that joke.
Never mind his letters. What have you got after yours? I mean, have you
Got any certificates?
Yeah, I've got a degree in design.
Nice degree in design. Okay,
right.
What about any sort of certificates from school or something like that?
Long jump, I think.
Long jump. Okay,
So
not bad.
his
Okay.
parents always said it was for the high jump.
Yes. Well, I've got a cycling proficiency.
Have you? Well done.
pretty
What did you
good.
score?
92%.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad. I don't know what the rest. Well, I lost the 8%, but it's 92%.
Yeah, brilliant.
But it's not as good as my best certificate I've got.
Go on, what's that?
I got a round of applause when I managed to get my stablers off the bike.
Oh, well done. Stablers off your bike. No, I want to focus on something a little bit different, actually, Gav, because in 1981, February, actually, it might be just about now, sort of February time, 1981, I climbed Kilimanjaro and I made it.
way.
Yes, I did. Yes. 19,340 feet, and I got to the top.
Wow.
However, I got to the top and was ill, and they had to carry me down.
Oh. You didn't explain.
I'm not telling you that.
Why were you ill? Was it the curry the day before?
No.
Lack of oxygen.
So at the very top, I got sick at this one point, and then that's the 18 and a half, but you still had to go further round to get to the very top. And I thought, I've come this far, I'm not going down. So I unfortunately got altitude sickness, and they had to carry me down.
So why did you climb Kilimanjaro?
Because it's there.
Not for raising funds for anything?
No.
Just because it was there?
We're talking 1981. People weren't doing it for a laugh then. And there was no internet, and there was no let's go on a sat nav from the top of Kilimanjaro, here I stand.
Yeah.
This was, 3 days up, 2 days down. It was
But
good.
something must have triggered that desire to climb Mount
I was
Kilimanjaro.
living in Tanzania at the time.
Well, that helps.
Yes.
So it was kind of in the background, was it?
Yes,
You
it
thought,
was
that's a bit of a hill, I'll go and climb that.
Exactly. And
But how long did it take you?
3 days and then 2 days down, about 35 miles. I
Did
think.
it have any snow on the top of that?
It did have snow on the top.
And was it quicker down because you were being carried?
It certainly was. It certainly was. I had these two guys frog march me.
Yes.
Down from 19,000 feet to 12,000. At 12,000 feet, they put me on one of these gurneys things with a wheel underneath.
Yes.
And then they ran with me. Literally, they ran down to 10,000 feet because they wanted my blood pressure and oxygen levels to reduce. So it was.
So a parachute wouldn't have been quicker then?
A parachute would have been quicker, but I don't think I'd have made it at that height with the air quality. But thinking of that,
Oh, yes.
30, it was quite a long journey, 35 miles. Have either of you done treks? And
I've done the walk in Coventry, which is 20 miles, 30 odd kilometres. We did it last year to raise money
raise
for
funds. Okay,
for
so we're talking about
Coventry
raising
food
funds.
banks.
Yeah, I cycled across the coast to coast.
You
that's
cycled
a-
across.
that's a
How
nice
many
segue.
miles is that, Gwyn?
I don't know.
Just
how
over
many miles is
200.
it?
It's about just over 200, Gwyn.
And
Because I'm
Gav-
going to walk it this
Gav,
year.
rumour has it, yes.
Yes.
For your very, very, very close birthday that's coming up any minute, you're going to do something. Tell us a little bit about that, would you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go from St Bees Head in Cumbria across the Robin Hood's Bay, which is on the the North Sea coast on the other side. It's what's called Wainwright's Coast to Coast Walk. It takes 13 days. It's just over 200 miles. There are a whole raft of reasons, Chris, why I'm going to do this. One is I'm turning 60 and I had a heart attack 2 years or so ago, and it's kind of changed your perspective. And I just wanted to do something that really challenged me as an individual, but something which also would raise money for a charity that's near and dear to my heart, which is Feed the Hungry.
Hooray.
And the work that we do out in Zambia in particular. Gwyn and I were out in Zambia in 2019, tail end of just before the pandemic.
It was.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. Just going to stop you there.
Yes, darling.
You've been to Zambia with Gwyn?
Yes.
Gwyn.
Yes.
You've been to Zimbabwe with Gwyn?
Yes.
Hungry.
Darling, yes.
Where have I been?
Wales?
Ratby.
Ratby. Where's Ratby, Chris?
Ratby's in
Is it a
Leicestershire.
country?
It's in Leicestershire. It's had an emergency gas leak and I was there.
Was that a personal problem?
No,
You made some gas?
I'm just saying. Oh no, I did go to Ireland.
Oh, you went to Ireland with me, didn't you?
I did.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right. Well, we take you to all the best places. Chris.
Yes, that's right. Good. we're very grateful for that trip. It was a tremendous trip. Anyway,
Okay,
back to your coast
I've
to
made a
coast.
note. I've made a note.
Thank you. Okay.
What you need to take him next time?
Yeah.
Take me anywhere.
Absolutely.
I'll go anywhere. somewhere I've never been.
How about Tanzania?
Well, I was thinking of
I do
Ukraine,
speak-
one-way ticket. But
So
that was-
you do realise I
I
do
know you
speak
speak
Swahili.
Swahili. Yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes, you do.
I'm not going to let.
Yeah,
I'm not going
we-
to let listeners into that yet. That's for
Well,
another
no,
podcast.
we have had people coming through who didn't understand a word you said.
Indeed.
Yes.
Back to
Cool.
coast to coast. Then, are you calling it coast to coast, Gav?
Yes, we're calling it a Coast to Coast Walk, raising money for an orphanage in Zambia.
Fantastic.
And they have a bit of a problem there, which is that the numbers of orphans. The orphan problem in Zambia is quite acute because a whole generation has been wiped out pretty much with the AIDS pandemic.
Wow,
it's not
yeah.
talked about a lot, but it's known about in the country. So the orphans are not orphans in the sense that they're living alone. They tend to live with family members, but that places great strain on the families they're living with. This school specifically caters for them, and it's a school that Feed the Hungry provides food into as well. They do not have enough classrooms for the number of orphans in that
Okay.
particular school.
Yeah.
And they do not have an IT suite, and they're missing a lot of the facilities they need, not just to educate the children well, which they're unable to do, but also to meet requirements of the Zambian government to be a school. So we need to act fairly quickly, and they need somewhere around £60,000. So that seems good to me.
Yeah.
I'd love to raise £60,000
Fantastic.
on my 60th birthday
Yeah.
by walking coast to coast. For Feed the Hungry. 13 days, and I'm trying to get people to join me as well during the walk to come and do sections of it.
Fantastic. And information about that will be
Some-
on various socials, via our website, and we'll probably say more about it on the podcast.
Great.
You never know, Gav. We might do a podcast in the middle of
Are you
summer.
going to come and join me for this,
I'm going to
Chris?
come and join you for some of it, but I might
Excellent.
maybe just do a podcast, not to walk. I did my Kilimanjaro thing, okay. I don't know whether Gwyn's around.
I'll probably be somewhere.
He's aiming to be overseas on that particular week.
Yes. Just to get out of walking with
Yeah,
you.
maybe Wales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that, Gav. On to where Gwyn's been.
Where have you been,
Where's
Gwyn?
Gwyn?
Where's Gwyn?
Gwyn.
Where's Gwyn been? Yes.
Ukraine.
Way!
Ukraine.
Yeah, we mentioned a bit earlier in the
Yeah.
podcast that I've been over there 4 times now. But the one time that we're referring to was the time when I was in as Gavin says,
a flapjack.
in a
He was
flapjack.
in a flapjack, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, in a flap jacket.
What do we mean by that, Gwyn? What were you actually wearing, and where did you go?
Yeah, well, I started off being asked by our friends in Romania, would you like to come over and take some food over from our warehouses in Bucharest over to Odessa or Ishmael, right on the border between Romania.
Okay, so not far from the front line then.
So who are our
No,
friends?
that was off the front line, so I thought, that's okay. I can
Okay.
go there.
Who are our
You know?
friends in Romania, Gwyn?
Bread of Life. So they have they run an orphanage there that we do a feeding program, but they also have a warehouse that we can store goods en route into places like Ukraine, Bulgaria, and places like that.
what's
So
the
like a
advan-
distribution point.
What's the advantage of that to us?
Because we have various loads of food coming from all over Europe, it comes into the warehouse,
So
and
it's
then we
consolidation.
consolidation, and then mix it so it's appropriate for different needs.
And we actually send food from our warehouse in Coventry to that warehouse in Romania, don't we?
Absolutely, yes. So we through Red Cross as well, we've been supplied with 2 mobile kitchens, so we're cooking food on the front line. One of those vans is being operated by the chaplaincy, the army chaplaincy in Ukraine,
Okay.
out of Zabranocha. So that's where I landed up in. So which was a 12-hour drive from the border. So we had to go through various checkpoints all the way. So arrived there one evening with sirens going. So thinking, okay, this is getting closer to the front line.
Right.
Then the next morning I was introduced to the chaplaincy, the army chaplaincy, and they gathered together to have some prayers and music and worship together, and then find out what was going to happen during the day. So us thinking we're going to be introduced to the van that they'll be taken to local villages around Zabranocha. So we had a really fun time together for about 45 minutes, and then the chaplain said, right, it's time to go. So I said, okay, I'm ready.
Where were you going to go?
Well, I didn't know at that point.
Oh, right, okay.
So, but then I got the flap jacket and the helmet, thinking I'm going somewhere I wasn't expecting to go to.
You're not going, okay.
Okay, so yeah, about 2 hours later, we were in Bakhmut, right on the front line.
Wow.
So we're actually taking food out to villages that were being affected.
And were you safe?
No.
Did you get shot at?
We got bombs thrown at us. Well, not thrown at us, sort of missiles and bombs landing.
Wow.
So we were... First 2 villages were great because we were out in 2 vehicles. We had a very strict regime in terms of, right, here's the leader, you do everything that leader does. Get out of the car, distribute food. We have a 5-minute clock. We move to next before any drones, anything, spot where we are.
Okay.
Which
Wow.
was fine until then we got into the edge of Bakhmut, and then that's where you saw the devastation.
Really?
You know, you saw villages and you saw houses being bombed.
How did it affect you?
I was okay, really.
Yeah.
You know, you're in the moment. So, you know, you're going with a plan, you got the food, you got a purpose, you know what you're doing.
Did it catch up with you afterwards? Did it impact upon you?
Yeah, I think it slowly sort of, was I really there? You know?
Surreal.
It's a
surreal experience.
It's a reversal, isn't it? Because now we don't see so much about Ukraine in the news, not so much. So we've had our senses dulled. You went there, and you suddenly, after a while, get your senses heightened because of what you actually saw.
I mean, it is quite interesting how we lose interest in these things. And I think, I mean, our press has a lot to do with that, don't they? Things do not get reported anymore. Ukraine very rarely now makes the major news.
Yeah.
But there was 2 interesting things. One, we had to bunker down in one of those cellars that you see.
Yeah, underneath the tenement blocks.
Tenement block, all the windows blown out, curtains hanging out the windows, you know, chairs hanging out. And then I was watching this lady who'd come out, and she was standing there, you know, sort of, I'm not moving, I'm not going anywhere. You know, this is where I lived, and this is where... And then the bomb started falling. And then I was watching her face to see, okay, she'll know when those bombs are getting closer or not.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so you were watching for that twitch in their face, and then she turned around and went downstairs. I think, right, it's time to go.
So did you go down into her bunker?
Yeah, we were there for a couple of hours, 2-3 hours.
So what did you do in the bunker? Just waited, or did you...
We waited, and we had this amazing chorister, and we were in the bunker, and he only had about maybe 6 foot, and this chorister just sang this beautiful Ukrainian songs.
Wow, okay.
And it just reverberated around the place.
Did it calm people? And
yeah, it did.
So peace in the war, in a sense.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's incredible.
And amongst it, you could hear the bombs dropping, you know?
Yeah.
But then she was making us, you know, fruit tea and whatever.
I remember you sent a photo back, didn't you?
Yeah.
What
was amazing also was we saw boxes of food that arrived a couple of weeks earlier on the bed, which were marked and had come from Coventry. Were in that village.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I showed a few people that photo afterwards, and they said it's so good to see exactly where something ends up.
Was that the food that was packed by Ukrainians in Coventry? Was that?
No, it was the rice mills.
Oh, it's the rice mills.
That
Because we had a privilege of having a whole Ukrainian community in Coventry come and pack lots and lots of meals for Ukraine at the beginning of 2023. It was very, very poignant.
Brilliant. So we've talked about a long-term strategy into Ukraine, or a long-term strategy for war. We just don't know, do we, how long this war is going to last?
No, we don't.
So in terms of what we doing, what you see happening there, where would you see us going in the next few months, maybe a year, however long it takes, in terms of strategy and provision, really?
Again, it's to do, as we discussed in other podcasts, it's about transformation, and it's actually rebuilding communities.
But surely you can't rebuild until the war is over, can you? Or can you make start? Can you make?
You
a
can
start
make a start. You can start planning ahead of time, just thinking we can see what the need is, and
So what does that look like practically? What does it mean for the communities if we're going to put transformation centres in there?
sort of building accommodation. A lot of these people are living and bunking down in cellars.
Okay.
The refugees are coming in, and houses are being shared, but there's not enough housing, so not enough bedrooms, so they're bunkering down in cellars. So rebuilding homes, taking old cottages and putting more extra bedrooms in, and utilising land.
Yeah, I mean, I think a key thing for any rebuilding program after war is integrity.
Yeah.
In terms of what you aim to doing and getting other people to do it, because I mean, I've known and seen where people have come and said, "Oh, we'll fix it for you. We'll do it for you. We'll take the cut." And they go in there and they do what the community not necessarily wants, but something that they can provide, and they pay a premium for it. And the companies get in there because they see an opportunity to make some money. How do we, as Feed the Hungry, intend to show our integrity, show what we believe God wants us to do in that community? I mean, take that chorister, for instance, singing that song. For me, that's a wonderful representation of somebody bringing a unique kind of peace to a community.
Absolutely.
Have we got ideas of what we can do in that?
Yeah, I was actually inspired by, in Zambia was the headquarters of the Cossacks.
Oh, okay.
And the Cossacks was an army, of course, but it was an army that was started by the church to protect Europe from the Turks and invaders coming in and enslaving a lot of people from European villages. And their whole ethos was to actually protect community.
Okay.
So they would actually, in times of war, in times of conflict, they would be the front line. Mm-hmm. But in times when they were in conflict, they would build community.
Right.
So they would look at where things needed building and looking after the orphans and looking after the widows. So I thought, gosh, that's a great template to actually... we can be an army of people working together to help people rebuild their lives.
I mean, there's a definite theme coming across everything we're talking about, from food banks and food with food poverty in this country to the pantry model, changing the way we look at that in terms of Pathfinder project, to doing something in Zimbabwe in terms of the sustainable economy there. But this is the first time I think we've introduced the word protection of the community, and I think that's a key thing, isn't it? Not just because of the war, but actually protection of communities or protection of people that maybe get marginalised or get used in their environment. And I think, do you sense that we as Feed the Hungry have a duty of care in that respect, Gav? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I think protecting identity and community is really important. So it's always dangerous to try and impose the ideas of a third party of another country and the way that we do things. We see that in Africa as well, that we came in with our ideas, particularly around things like financing. And actually when the culture more suits things like microfinance, then we wouldn't be sympathetic to the way that things are done in the country. So I think protection is really important.
So that's an interesting point about funding and money and microfinance. I know Gwyn and I were talking earlier this week about how it's all gone onto phones now, hasn't it? Mobile phones.
That's right.
There's no cash involved really. Anyway, that was particularly, you said, in
especially Somaliland and in the rest of Africa.
Going back to the finance question, we've got some experience of microfinance, but maybe our listeners don't know what that means. What would you say that is about?
So it is part of the culture there, and it may seem a little bit strange to listen to. It took me a while to get my head around the idea that culturally, places like Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe, where we have been, people are used to the idea of borrowing small amounts of money to start things, and then repaying that money. And the only issue you've got that in some cultures where that's done commercially, the interest rates associated with it are quite pernicious and difficult to repay. Where I've seen it done really well, like in Burkina Faso, it's been done through the church pastor. But still, the money effectively is loaned. The person starts a small business, they pay it back. That means that money can be recycled several times through the economy in order to start things up or to encourage people to grow the business they've got. And it's not weird there. We might look at that and think, well, that doesn't feel right to me, but surely we should be gifting the money to them. It's not culturally relevant to them. So the idea of a microfinance is quite normal.
Yeah, onto that is that they're formed in the sense of a credit union bank where you're actually local people investing in the bank. So the ownership of the bank is local.
Yeah.
So they know who their clients are. So it's not an institution coming in with and starting a bank and charging X amount of rate, but don't really care for the community.
Like the old mutual started out here.
I'm not sure how the mutual started here, but just to add to what Gwyn was saying, it also there's a culture with that type of model, which is in Zimbabwe, of creating a savings culture as well, which is good because, as we said in an earlier podcast, if you end up with a bit of surplus money, then the community around you, close family and friends, look at that as available to the whole community. Before you know where you are, as a woman with a little bit of extra money in her pocket, she'll have no end of requests for support from friends and family, and it's difficult for her to say no.
Fantastic. I mean, I think that's incredible. So, long-term strategy for Ukraine?
We're still looking at supporting families and villages with food. A lot of these people in communities are mainly old people where the young men have gone to war. Their families have been sent to safe places, but the old people have been left behind. So it's important that we care for those old people in those circumstances, but then to build on looking for strategies to rebuild as time goes on.
It's hard to see how that war will ever be resolved. I mean,
at this moment in time, it's really difficult.
Hard,
Will you be wearing a flapjack again?
Probably.
Probably.
An OT flapjack.
An OT
flapjack.
Okay, thanks very much, guys, and let's see where we head. In our next podcast, we'll be looking towards things a little closer to home. A person of lived experience regarding the pantries. We'll be thinking about what we can't believe in terms of AI. That would be useful, and of course, seeking your profound wisdom, and of course, all the things that go with Gav's letters after his name.